It was a hot summer's day when I began my trip across Quebec on my bicycle. I started on the Ontario-Quebec border west of Montreal and rode east into the city along Highway 338. It turned out to be a trip I will never forget. Montreal is a big, bustling city with beautiful architecture and lots of history. Walking downtown in the old city with friends was an amazing experience. All the people and the happenings, and of course, we had to eat poutine. The view from the top of Mount Royal is breathtaking. As I looked around and saw Notre Dame Island, memories came back to me of being there for Expo 67, and then of course the Summer Olympics in 1976. Yes, I'm not as young as you may think. Getting through Montreal was a challenge by car because you met up with construction just about everywhere you turned. But by bike, well, Montreal has a huge number of bike paths, but they aren't easy to follow as they twist and turn their way through the city. I also don't speak French, so finding my way was not easy. On the second day of my trip, I managed to find a safe way to get across the river to the south side and followed 132 all along the St. Lawrence out of the city. Once I got out of busy Montreal, I really enjoyed the ride. The next city we stopped at was Quebec City. If you've ever been to Europe, you will feel at home here right away. It is a delightful city with all the inviting charm of sidewalk cafes and restaurants. Dogs are welcomed and even receive a bowl of water. But be prepared for lots and lots of stairs. Right downtown in the old city, the buildings have a lot of character as they are quite old. The Chateau Laurier is amazing at any time of year, with carnivals taking place in the plaza in front of it. In the summer, you'll be entertained by jugglers and magicians and musicians while enjoying sun and music. There are also historic sites of important battles and forts that give a glimpse into the early years. It is a city you must set aside time to walk around and just let it soak in. Right along the river is a walking biking path that is amazing to ride. After spending a couple of days there, I continued biking along the south shore of the river. There are many quaint little towns sporting brightly colored roofs and houses along there, dotted with inviting picnic areas in attractive little parks. Every one of them was worth lingering in to enjoy, but I needed to keep moving as my time was limited. The next town we stayed at was Rivière-du-Loup. It had a couple of very nice campgrounds right on the river, and from where we stayed, you could take a little walk out to the end of a spit where you could catch a ferry across the river. It was a picturesque lookout over the river as well. We caught it at sunset and were captivated by it. We also noticed that it smelled like salt water and were informed that the fresh river water and the salty ocean water started to mingle together here as the St. Lawrence River begins to merge into the Atlantic. From Rivière-du-Loup, you can either go south to Edmundston and New Brunswick or continue east around the Gaspé, which is part of Quebec. I did both at different times. The bike trail from Rivière-du-Loup to Edmundston is beautiful, created on an old train track. It is well kept, with places to stop and even camp overnight. However, it is made of fine stone, which would be okay for almost any bike except a road bike like mine, as my tires dug in and slowed me down a lot. Still, the scenery was fantastic. The trip by car along the highway, though, feels like a roller coaster ride over rolling hills. Carrying along from Rivière-du-Loup to the Gaspé led from one breathtaking view to another. As you travel right along the river, the majestic St. Lawrence River from Rivière-du-Loup on gets bigger and bigger to the point you can't see the other side. The towns are quaint and look like they haven't changed in 100 years. Everywhere you look is like a postcard. Out at the east end of the Gaspé, there is a large national park. Just at the south side of it, we took a whale watching tour. It was exhilarating, and we had many good sightings of whales, though we went through some rolling waves and I got seasick out on the boat. Hint: when taking close-up pictures of whales with a long lens, it can become disorientating to adjust back and forth to normal view. From there, we traveled south along the coast down to Pierce Rock. We were again welcomed by stunning views and discovered that the little town of Pierce was all freshly done up with boardwalks and made ready for tourists. Across from the town was an island that could be reached by a ferry to visit with the puffins and other ocean birds. We spent some time here, and it was well worth it. Finally, we continued south to Campbellville and to the New Brunswick border. To get there, we had to cross this beautiful bridge. This trip across Quebec was a real joy, beautiful and full of surprises, and even though we did not speak French, we found the people very friendly and helpful, and I'm sure you will too.